Hey everybody, this is the long-awaited update for the seeds that I planted in sand, just straight sand. So if this is your first time watching one of my videos, you guys, I welcome you and I encourage you to click that subscribe button. My name is Keisha and this is my channel, Lakisha Keene Saving Greens. And you guys, several weeks ago, I'd say about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I planted seeds into just straight sand, play sand. And most everything came up, still not that spinach, you guys. And I put additional seeds of spinach in there and still nothing. And I wanted you to just see the progress of how these were growing in the sands. I also wanted to update you on the dragon fruit that I planted in straight sand so that it could grow roots. And it's time for me to get these planted up into soil in larger pots. So thought I'd bring you along for that so that you can see the progress, whether these rooted out or if I have to just put them in soil to get them to root out. Okay, you guys, so today is the day that we find out whether or not we have roots. If I was able to propagate these dragon fruit cuttings, if I was able to propagate them and root them out in sand, just strictly sand, no soil, only sand. In fact, here's a better look at it. It's just sand. Now, I don't know, it kind of gives it away on this one because I see roots in the cup there. But you guys, it's been a month since I put these in here. Also, another thing that I was trying to experiment and test out and see was not only if they would root out in sand and no soil, but also just other videos that I saw said that you had to dry them first. Just about every video I watched said you had to wait until they scab over. When you cut them, don't put them fresh into the ground or into dirt because they will rot. Or the likelihood of them rotting is greater, I guess. But anyway, so this first 3 cups right here on the right here, those are the ones that I allowed to dry for 3 days and scab over. And the ones on the left here are the ones that I didn't. As soon as I cut them, I placed them directly in the sand so that they can grow. And well, I already gave this one away because this one has roots, so we know that it grew. It didn't make a difference, at least on that one. But also I wanted to check out all the rest of them and see how their roots, their root growth turned out. This one, I waited, let them dry out on these 2 here. So anyways, today I'm going to be potting these, and I have these sticks here that I'm going to use to tie them with that green twine, my scissors, so that I can tie them up, and then I'll be placing them in these containers here. So I just wanted to give you an up close look. I'm going to set you down and I'm going to start pulling these out so we can check the root systems on these. Okay, you guys, so the money question today is, did these dragon fruit cuttings grow roots? Was I able to use sand and only sand to propagate and root out dragon fruit cuttings? I felt that the sand was a good fit for this particular type of plant because all the videos that I saw, and you guys, this is my first time even dealing with dragon fruit or growing them or anything. But all the videos that I saw stated that you had to treat them in such a way so that they wouldn't rot. So you couldn't plant them deep in the soil because they would rot. You couldn't plant them with an open end in the dirt because it would rot. So as you can see, all of my plants, all of my dragon fruit cuttings are looking healthy and plump and good. So my guess is that they all rooted, and it didn't matter whether I let them scab up first and dry the ends out first, or if I planted them fresh ends right away. It doesn't look like it made that big of a difference. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to start pulling these out one by one, and I'm going to show you what they look like. I guess I could start with this one since I'm already like pulling them out. This one had a lot of air roots on it. So that's what you see on the outside of it here is just air roots that they form. This one has very little, very small start to a root growing. Let me see if I can get this focused. Okay, there we go. I don't know if you guys can see, is that little itty bitty tiny root tip right here. Anyways, so that one was one of the ones that I had dried first. And I had I left the rough edge on the bottom there. And so that one doesn't look like it did a lot as far as root growth. No. This one is the same. Let me go rinse this one off. Okay, so this one did a whole lot better. You can definitely see the root growth on this one. So, there we go. You can definitely see that there's root growth on this one. This one was a dry one too. Ouch. Whew. Okay, so we're gonna go with this one. Oh yeah, I can already see roots on this one too. I can already see roots on this one too, you guys. There's another dry one. One that I waited for it to dry. That's big and healthy too. That's another dry one. I planted it deep. I'll show you this one before I rinse it. Where that sand line is, that's how deep it was planted in. You see that? That's how deep. That's what, about 2.5 inches deep. And it didn't rot. It didn't rot, and we have roots. A lot of healthy roots on this one as well. Let's see, there we go. A lot of healthy roots on this one as well. So, and this one didn't have as many roots. Not as many roots on this one, but roots nonetheless. So I'll put that one down. Now the last three back here, the three that I stuck them down in there without waiting for it to scab over on the bottom. So these had open ends. And look at this, you guys. Those are some healthy roots. Let me turn it this way so you can see a little bit better. Look at that. No rotting. All this is nice and solid and hard. It's not soft. No rotting. And this one was one of those cut ends that I didn't wait. I planted it right away. So now we have this one. I just feel bad for this one, you guys. It didn't do anything. When I got back from vacation, I guess my cat had knocked it out of the sand. So it was just laying horizontally like this across the cup. So maybe he'll grow in the soil, get a chance to grow in the soil. And then this one, this one has a little bit of root right there on the tip. And this one was a fresh one that I put in. He didn't rot. He's nice and solid. There's no rotting on him. But he didn't have the cut end like how this one has, where I cut it. I cut the hard end off on these guys because of the way I cut them. Anyways, you guys, I guess what I learned through this whole experiment with starting these or rooting these dragon fruit is that it really doesn't matter whether you leave the dry tip on the bottom or a wet tip on the bottom, or if you take them and cut them up here and cut the dry part off and then let this part scab over. I mean, it just doesn't really matter. They all grew well. I mean, I had a lot of real good successes. All of them have some sort of root on them that grew. So, I don't know. Maybe it was just beginner's luck since this was my first time doing anything with dragon fruit. I have no idea, you guys. But I didn't have any of them rot on me at all. So I guess that is a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get these set up, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to plant these using these sticks. I'm going to tie them up to these sticks to give them some support. And I'm not going to plant them in deep. I'm just going to plant them in barely covering the root part. So like for instance this one, I'm just going to barely cover the root part here with some dirt. And then I'm going to top them with sand at the end because if you've seen any of my other videos, I have fungus nets. I put everything that I'm keeping in the house, and I'm keeping these in the house to overwinter. Everything that I have, all my pots, the plants that I have in my house have sand to keep the fungus gnats away. So I will show you when I get these planted in how it looks. Okay, you guys, here's an up close view. So those I covered over, but you can see it's not that deep. I just barely covered just the root part, and that's that. These guys are just basically just sitting on the top since they didn't have much root already. And these ones I haven't even covered them up yet. So like this one you can still see is uncovered, and I'm just gonna give him a little coverage on the root there. But not deep at all, you guys. Not deep at all. And I just tied them up on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take the sand that they were sitting in, and I'm just gonna reuse it and just put that on top, because like I said, I don't want the fungus gnats. I already had to put some sand on my aloe because I was given some aloe vera, and those pots got infested with fungus gnats. These guys were infested with fungus gnats, so I had to put the sand on them. I didn't put the sand because when I first brought them to my house, I wasn't sure if I was going to set them outside and let them grow outside, or if I was going to keep them inside. But the fungus gnats got in there and got infested them. All the rest of my plants have sand in them, so those were the only two that were exposed, and those were the only two that got infested. So that is the reason why I put sand in all of my pots. And make sure that I have them covered. And now, especially now that I know that my dragon fruit are not going to rot in the sand, then I could go on ahead and put my usual 2 inches worth of sand on the top here and not worry about the plants rotting. So I'm happy about that. So that's just yet another one of those discoveries that I made in this experiment. And that's what I'm always saying, experiment, you guys. Don't always go by what you see other people say. I mean, sometimes people say stuff and they mean well. And sometimes people say stuff because they heard it somewhere and they didn't try it out themselves or never experienced it for themselves. And so they weren't sure. They just are repeating what they heard. So I'm one of the kind of people, you tell me I can't do something, or a certain thing is going to happen if I do it a certain way, I have to experiment to see first for myself. Because I'm not about to do all these, jump through all these hoops and stuff when it's not even necessary. So to get the same results, you know, it's up to you if you decide you want to still dry them at the ends or not. But they've been sitting in wet sand for a month now, and none of them rotted, even with open ends. Maybe it happens more when it's in soil, but if you're using sand, I wouldn't even worry about it. I'd just go ahead and cut the pieces and stick them right on in the sand and grow out my roots. So anyways, you guys, you can skip that whole thing altogether if you just go straight to soil and you dry them and then you stick them in the soil and then you forget about it. You could do it that way too. I'm not saying that's a bad way. I'm just saying it works in sand too. I don't have to worry about it rotting. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of these in with sand and get these watered. I just wanted to show you an update on this stuff. So here's an up close of these seedlings that I started in sand only. So I am going to take these out and I'm going to put them in some cups. until I'm ready, until I get the spaces outside cleared and ready to go. But I wanted to give you guys a look, and I wanted to show you this, the roots and stuff on these guys. So let me set you down. Okay, you guys, I wanted to show you the root system in this plant that I grew in the sand here. Oh, it was even longer than this. I had to rip it in order for me to finish pulling it up. But look at that roots system there. That's pretty good for a little tiny plant. That's pretty good. So let me see. I gotta pull this one up too so I can put these in a cup. Somebody had asked me how I was gonna pull these out because the sand doesn't stick together. But the sand seems to hold itself pretty good. I have to knock it off. But those roots look pretty good. So I'm gonna get these put in cups. But I just wanted to update you guys and show you. Look at that one, all those roots. I just wanted to update you guys and show you what it looks like before I get it into these cups. And then I did leave them in just a little bit too long. Some of the plants are a little stressed, but for the most part they survived. And let me see, I had planted these around the 2nd or 3rd week of October is when I planted these. I mean, they've been in there for a little while. Probably a little longer than what I should have let them. But I was trying to see how long they would be able to stay in the sand without nutrition, without nutrients. And they seem to have done pretty good. Now, they're probably not as big as they could have been if I planted them in soil, but they still did good just being planted in straight sand, no soil at all. I think what I'm gonna do going forward, because I do have issues with fungus gnats all the time. I can't stand fungus gnats. And so I will still use the sand, but I'll do it the setup that I did for my tomatoes before, where I used like half soil and half sand, that type of setup, because those plants still grew big and healthy. So I will put a link in the description for that video. I did make a sand playlist though, so that it'd be easier for you guys to find and keep up with what I'm doing, my experiments that I'm doing with sand. So anyways, look for the link in the description for that and check that out. And that's probably the way I'm going to go forward in the future with using sand. I am going to get these potted up. Okay, so there's only a couple of the cups that I did so far. I'm going to do a lot more. Just not on camera. So you guys, after I get everything cleared out of the beds where I want to put these outside, then I will put these outside and I will give you future updates on all of these that I grew in sand and whether they survived even after the sand. You guys, thank you so much for watching this update video. I will keep you updated on this dragon fruit and see how well it does. But I thank you for watching. I appreciate your interest in these experiments with sand that I'm doing. And as always, you guys, God bless.